System stored procedures really don't fall totally into the metadata type environment, but they do touch on metadata, and you can get metadata. And so I'll show you an example of one of those here in just a moment. But system stored procedures are stored procedures that are built into SQL Server. They come with the product. They're built by Microsoft's gurus, and they provide many different administrative and informational functionalities. For example, the store procedure, the system store procedure add user, adds a new user to the current database. The store procedure password can be used to add or change a password for a login. And the best way to understand these is to go look at them and then look at some code. So the first thing I want to do is jump out into the Management Studio and show you, if you go into the databases, go into AdventureWorks, go into Programmability, Stored Procedures, and then right here are System Stored Procedures. And I want you to see this. I'm going to expand this over just a bit. This is how many stored procedures there are. So I'm not even going to try to explain these or talk you down, gently with these things. There's just a lot of these things out there, okay? So I'm going to play with one here called Space Used. It's down in here somewhere. They're in alphabetical order. To give you an idea of what you can do with these, notice they're all prefixed with sys dot. So sys dot store procedure space used. Now you can go out and look at these in books online. Just look up system store procedures. They have them grouped by category and all sorts of things. So I could strongly recommend you get out there and play with some of these and see what's going on. But let's look at an example. We execute these with the execute command, exec. We could also spell out execute, but we can use the first four letters, so why bother with the rest, right? And I'm just going to call sp underscore space used. Now notice I'm pointed at the AdventureWorks database. And so when I execute this, I want you to notice what it does. It shows me for the AdventureWorks database how much disk space. And I'm going to expand this out so we can see it. The database size, it's taking up 228.81 megabytes of space on my disk. It's got 12.85 megabytes of unallocated space. Here it is in kilobytes for space. Notice the data is taking up 97,000 kilobytes. It's probably around 100 megabytes. So we know that schema and structure is taking up a chunk here. Size of all the indexes, 89 kilobytes. What's that, about 95 megabytes, something like that. And then we have some unused space in there. So that's pretty neat. But notice what else we can do. That is a default value, a default input parameter for the database name. But if I pass it a table name, and I'll use the schema name in there with it. So the person, that's the schema, right? That's the table name. If I execute that, pretty interesting. It shows me there are 19,972 rows in the person table. Notice the data size of this table, 30,560 kilobytes, which is what, about 32, 33 megabytes. You can go out and convert those. But notice the index size, 54,000 kilobytes. So notice this is one where the index is larger than the data. But this gives you an idea of what you're looking at out there. And you can look at every table. You can look at your database to see what size it is. Then there's one more I want to show you. I want to execute SP, and this one's really cool, depends. All right, let's say that I'm going to make some changes to the structure of my database, but I'm concerned here. If I change the name of person.person, or if I move that data somewhere else, what all is depending on person.person? What all is using that in code? Well, if I execute, it will show me. And notice this can be a shock to you sometimes. There are 21 items. Notice I've got a store procedure that we played with called getPhone. I've got an inline function called phone numbers. Table function, we've got some stored procedures out here. We have some views. We have a check constraint, a trigger. We've got a lot of stuff going on out here that are dependent on that table. So if I change the name of that table, I'm most likely going to break functionality in these objects right here. So anyway, that's the system store procedure SP depends. There's a lot of these things out there. Just go look through the list, look at some of the documentation, books online, or go out to Microsoft's site and TechNet. But there's a lot of different things you can do out there. It's a vast universe of functionality. Just go look at it and play with them, see what you like.